for better or for worse. What happened here with the opioid epidemic is, it could have been any of us. And I know so many people who, were entangled in that and are still impacted. And I know so many people who have gotten out and are doing great things and helping those that are still in active addiction. And, I was fortunate enough to grow up poor. And so what a blessing. You don't think it is until you look back. But, I was working from the day I was 16,
right.
Because if I wanted to have gas money and have a car and all that, nothing was ever handed to me, right? And so I didn't have the opportunity. I graduated high school in 1998, and that was right at the rise of the opioid epidemic, right when Oxycontin hit our community in the coal fields. And I had so many friends who, were more fortunate than me in the financial aspect that didn't have to, they were, and they got sucked into that, right? And so what a blessing for me to be able to avoid that. Was never exposed to it. But I don't look down on anybody who was, because, I know those people before, and it was just a different set of circumstances. Had I been in their shoes, I would have been right there with them. If things had been different. I hated the fact that I had to be in the Hardee's drive-thru Friday and Saturday night, and my friends were out doing whatever, right? But that saved me.
And I'm total agreement. I think, in the work that I've done in media, and I know, and as you said, you was blessed to be raised poor. We were so blessed in this work that we done here that we didn't have the financial resources to hire somebody, because I would if I could. Okay, I mean, I've sent my little son up a tower 200 feet in the air, when he was 13, 14 years old, because it was $2,500 to get somebody to come in. But we had to fix it, and we had to do it, okay? Sure. There's things that Connie and I do here that we rewire and we work around and do all this thing. But I'm blessed because I had to learn. I had to build this thing, and I had to do those things. If I could have paid somebody, I would have, okay? But it just in situations in life that I didn't have the resources. So I said, hold on, I've got to do it. I was laughing the other day, and my son laughed at me. I've got about 6 computers laying on the floor, because I started bringing them out, old computers out, and going through them, plugging them up, seeing what's going on with them, taking some blue tape and writing on top of them, 1 gig of RAM. You know what I mean? Only a 100 gig hard drive, and writing them up and doing that. And because I've had to fix them. I never took a class, but somebody had to fix them.
Right.
A while back, we were sitting in here. We were, my grandson and I had finished doing some interviews, and everything was done. And about that time, I had 3 networks that went off the air on me that we do. I got one in Texas, one in Detroit, and the one here just went off the air. And I said, this is something. So I went back through and found the codes and found the research when some things out of Canada that I need to change. And I went in and I reprogrammed them, and I showed him what I was doing. I said, now, this is not wrote down anywhere, but this is what I've had to learn. And like you're saying, can you imagine how valuable the knowledge? Because there's people that have great wealth that don't have the knowledge that you've got through the experience.
Right.
I mean,
you learn a lot when you have to, when you don't have any choice.
Exactly.
You grow through what you go through, sure, but you also gain so much knowledge, anytime I've gone through adversity in my life, I've come out better for it, in many ways.
Well, I always tell my kids, I said, you can't put me where I'm not supposed to be. It'll be all right. I'll work through that. Let's talk about working at Hardee's. That's pretty cool.
Okay.